Now, if you know this, then you know secrets about money. If you know this, then you know a secret about money. And the first thing is, number one, difference between brand and quality. Difference between brand and quality. If you know the difference between brand and quality, then you know secrets about money, or one of the secrets about money. Difference between brand and quality. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I even continue with my presentation, remember, if you've seen me for the first time, my name is Sir John Mweri. I'm a professional accountant with ex-FinOp Accountancy and Insurance Consultancy. And before I even continue with this particular video, just make sure that you hit the notification bells, make sure that you subscribe on this particular channel, and make sure that you share this particular video. This is another reason that you should always stay subscribed, because we normally talk about finances, about personal financial management, and so on and so on. Now, let's get to the business of the day. Difference between brand and quality. Today, I shall be presenting to you one of the most, or 4 secrets about money that people didn't know. And they are so basic, but a lot of people tend to ignore them. And the first one is difference between brand and quality. Why am I talking about brand and quality? Now, if you look at the consumer behavior, or the consuming behavior of people, when you go to purchase an item, or when you go to purchase a product, most cases people focus on brand. For those people who want status, for those people who go for status, they normally focus on brand. When I say brand, is those branded items, like you want people to see you wearing like clothes branded in a certain company. For example, Louis Vuitton, I don't know whether that is a pronunciation. There is this other one, Bottega Veneta, you know, such kind of things. You want to wear those clothes that are branded, and they are very expensive, because branded items or branded clothes are very expensive. Now, in most cases, you are going to find that when those branded clothes or items or whichever products are expensive, some of them, the company is just selling the brand name itself, but it's not about the quality of that particular product. Some of them are branded items or branded products, but when you check the quality of those particular products, it's not something that you can say that is so much quality and it's worth to spend the money. But because of the name, or how the name is pursued in the market, or how the name has gone maybe worldwide and it's known by a lot of people. For example, Coca-Cola. You see, Coca-Cola it has been there for some years. Let's just take an example of Coca-Cola as a drink. It has been there for 4 years. All right. Now, if you take Coca-Cola, in most cases, you are going to find they are close competitors of Coca-Cola company. Because, for example, if you take like the Coca-Cola itself drink, there is someone who will say, I don't like Coca-Cola. This one tastes much better. Now, that one is a different company. But remember, Coca-Cola, it's pursued or it's known by the brand name itself. But now, if you check the product itself, you see there are some companies that have come up with a more, user-friendly product as compared to that one of Coca-Cola. But when it comes to the brand name itself, the Coca-Cola company has been able to sell itself. It's just like Safaricom and Airtel. You see, Safaricom is very expensive, and it's a brand by itself, and it has sold itself to the market. But when you look at Airtel, it's another brand, but you see its products are very cheap. Now, I'm not saying that Safaricom is not cheap, but also Airtel, it's not that cheap. But if you compare the two, Safaricom is more expensive. But in real sense, you could also go for Airtel because it's a little bit cheaper and it's affordable. It's also quality. But because of the brand Safaricom and how it's pursued the market, you went for it. So brand and quality is something that you're supposed to differentiate. So what is the point of this point number 1, difference between brand and quality? The point is, when you go to buy products or items, you don't just check that they are branded because they are named a certain company, because they are known worldwide, because a lot of people are wearing or a lot of people are using that products. Look at the cases of perfumes. Look at food products. Look at even clothes. Look at cars and so on and so on. There are some people who are going to prefer Mercedes Benz. Others are going to prefer, the brand itself. But when you go to the quality, someone would prefer Toyota, you see, when it comes to quality. But when it comes to brand, someone is going to go for Mercedes, for G-Wagon, and so on and so on. But when it comes to quality, someone is going to prefer Toyota. So ladies and gentlemen, it's not all about branding itself, but you're also supposed to check on the quality. And how does it help you in your finances? Now, when you check the quality other than the brand, okay, you can also go for brand, but make sure it's also quality. All right. Now, how does it help you? It helps you whereby you avoid spending too much money on branded items or branded products, but you focus on the quality. Sometimes a product can be cheap and it's quality. A product can be expensive, but it's not quality. You get what I mean by that particular point. So if you know the difference between brand and quality, then that is the first point or the first stage of knowing the secret with money. So you don't just go for the branded items, but also you go for quality items. Now, the second thing that you're supposed to talk about is when you spend, try to spend a little more upfront. The second secret is when you spend, try to spend a little more upfront. So when you spend spend a little more upfront. Now, this one is going to confuse a lot of people, but don't worry, I'm just going to explain it to you. When you spend, try to spend a little more upfront. What do I mean? Now, there are some people who like cheap things. You like buying cheap products for the sake of saving money. But in real sense, if you do the calculations, are you really saving money? No, actually, you might be misusing money by purchasing cheaper products. And that's why I'm saying that when you spend a little more upfront. What do I mean? If let's take a case scenario of a shoe. A shoe. Now, you're going to find that there is variety of shoes in the market. Of course, there are variety of shoes in the market. You can even get shoes at Kenya shillings at 500, others are 200. There are some places you are going to get with a price of 150 shillings and so on and so on. Now, 500, 200, and 150, you are going to get a shoe. But now, what is the quality of these cheaper products? What is the quality of these shoes? Now, you're saying that I'm going to spend 500 shillings to buy a shoe. But the question is, how long is that shoe going to last you? For example, if you buy 500, or let's take an example of 200 shillings, you buy a shoe costing 200 Kenya shillings, then after 1 month, it's worn out. So it means each and every month you are buying a shoe worth 200 Kenya shillings. So you buy 200 times 12. That is how much? 200 times 12, that is 12 times 2, 24. 2400. That is each and every month you are buying a shoe worth 2000. You've bought shoes worth 2400. Why is that happening? And why are you supposed to do like that? Instead, why don't you spend a little more upfront and buy a shoe that is just an expensive, a better quality shoe, something that is going to take you a little longer, something that is going to give you some service, instead of buying a shoe at Kenya shillings 500, and then when you multiply by 12 months, you buy Kenya shillings 500 shoe worth Kenya shillings 500, you multiply by 5 months, that is 6,000, and you could have bought a shoe that is just worth 3,500, a quality shoe that is going to take you some time. The same case happens with clothes and other products. People spend a lot of money buying little by little by little, spending less. But in real sense, in long run, you will have spent a lot of money. But instead, you could have focused on buying a product once, at an expensive price, then you avoid the cost of buying extra. I don't know whether you are getting what I'm saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's normalize. If it's purchasing products or items, let's try to spend a little more upfront. If you don't have that money, for example, if you wanted to buy a product worth 5,000, but you have discovered that the most quality product that you can purchase is with a maximum of 10,000. Why don't you save more to make it 10,000 to buy that quality product that is going to last a little longer, other than buying this product that is worth 6,000 just to last you for a short while, and then you find yourself in the same position of buying the same product. You see now what I'm saying. So when you spend, try to spend a little more upfront. What does it do to your financial path? It saves you money in long run. It saves you money in long run. It gives you that opportunity of not spending more in future trying to purchase the same products that you could have purchased right now with the money that you have. So try to spend a little more upfront, right? I don't know whether you get that explanation, but it seems a little bit confusing. Now, let's get to my point number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, I have my notes here. I'm just confirming. Then the other secret that you're supposed to know, if you know this particular secret, then you know the secret about money is buying in bulk saves a lot of money. This one everybody knows. Buying in bulk saves a lot of money. I guess this one you don't need an explanation, ladies and gentlemen, because of course, when you try and come up with a very good budget and you say, now this, I'm going to the market, I'm going to do the shopping, and I'll buy things in bulk instead of buying single item by single item by single item. For example, I just give you the case of potatoes. Potatoes. For those who don't know what is potatoes, this is waru in Kikuyu. Waru in Kikuyu. I don't know what you normally call them in your language, but this one is waru in Kikuyu. Now, potatoes, if you go to the market, you are going to find those people who normally package them in small plastic bags, and then they are going to tell you this is 50 shillings. Now, there is someone who is going to opt to buy one plastic bag at 50 shillings, and because you are a family of 6, you opt to buy like 4 bags. That is 50 times 4, that is 200 Kenya shillings. Now, there is another person. Now, let's do it practically here. One plastic bag of potatoes is 50 Kenya shillings. Now, one plastic bag of potatoes is Kenya shillings 50. But now, if you go and buy those potatoes in bulk or in wholesale, let's use the word wholesale. If you go and buy those potatoes in wholesale or in as one basket like this, that bucket that normally sells potatoes in the market. Now, you buy one bucket or basket or whichever bucket of potatoes at let's say 650 or just 500 shillings. 500 shillings. If you buy one bucket of potatoes at 500 shillings, it's a little more cheaper. But you see, the psychology that you have in spending, or the consumer behavior that you have in spending, you think that buying 50 shillings today, tomorrow and I buy another 50 shillings, the other day I buy another 50 shillings. At the end of the week, if you multiply 50 times 7, that one is 350 Kenya shillings. And again, those just one plastic of, it's like a size like this, and it does not have a lot of potatoes. Probably you're not even, the family is not satisfied. But one bucket only cost 500. Just imagine, one bucket could take you a whole month or even 1.5. But 350 shillings have only taken you 7 days. You get what I'm saying? So for it to take you a whole month, you'll have to send 30 times 50. That is 1,500. So if you multiply, like every day you buy potatoes worth 50 shillings, that is 50 times 30 days, that is 1500. But if you had bought in bulk, that is 500 Kenya shillings, it could have lasted you 1 month and a half, 1.5 months. But this one is 1500 for 30 days. You see, you will have saved how much? You will have saved 1500 minus 500, 1000 Kenya shillings when you buy in bulk. That is just an example of potatoes only. Okay, there are so many products that behave the same way as this. And when you try to budget, allocate money somewhere and purchase products in bulk. Do not accept to buy single items like you say, today I'm buying this and this and this. Not unless those are perishable products. For example, look at the case of eggs. Eggs, when you try to buy eggs, don't go and buy 3 eggs, 2 eggs, because you are going to buy each egg at 15 shillings or 20 shillings. But when you go and buy a whole tray of eggs, you are able to bargain. Or if you try to buy several trays of eggs and put them in your house, you are able to bargain. For example, you can say, I'm going to buy 1 tray of eggs at 350 shillings. But if you count that you buy 1 egg, a single egg, for example, you say, now let me do 5 eggs here. So that the retailer is going to count each and every one and multiply by 15 shillings, for example. And you see, when you calculate, you have bought a whole tray of eggs at 450 shillings. But when you buy in bulk, you have bought at 350 shillings. That means you have saved a whole 100 shillings. Now, what you buy 5 trays of eggs, that is 500 Kenya shillings. So buying in bulk, it's going to save you a lot of money. That is another secret. And if you know that, then you know the secret about money. You know, those small things that people normally ignore is where we normally find ourselves wasting a lot of money. So buying in bulk saves a lot of money. Now, let's move to our last point, our point number 4. Our point number 4, ladies and gentlemen, just I confirm very quickly. All right. Now, this one is very interesting. When you pay a huge down payment, then you are most likely, not even most likely, you are going to pay less interest. When you pay a huge down payment, you are going to pay less interest. Now, down payment, now, let me write huge down payment is equals to less interest. Now, how does that one operate? Huge down payment is equals to less interest. Now, assuming that you have gone, for example, this one normally happens in when you want to take properties in terms of debt. It normally happens when you want to take properties in form of debt. Now, you have identified a property and you want to secure that property, or you want to own that property through debt process, or you want to borrow a loan from a bank, probably a mortgage, and then you want to secure that particular property. It can be a vehicle, it can be land, it can be a building, and so on and so on. Now, let's take it as a vehicle. Yes, a vehicle. Now, this vehicle, it costs Kenya shillings 5 million. But the bank has told you that when you make a deposit, when we can finance you the whole amount, 5 million, because probably you have a very good relationship with the bank. We can finance you a whole amount. But remember, the bank tells you, but in your account, you have like 3 million Kenya shillings that you can make a deposit. Then the remaining 2 million, we can finance you, or you can let you pay little by little, all right? Or pay in installments, or whichever we call I don't know whether it's hire purchase or the installments. Now, remember, this is a vehicle that is worth 5 million. You have in your bank account, you have 3 million that you can use it as a deposit. Then the remaining 2 million, you can pay it in installments. Now, remember, if you pay, let's say this loan is at a cost of 14%. Just an example, let me take 10% per annum. At a cost of 10% per annum. It means you will pay 10 over 100 times 5 million, or 5 million like that. That is it 500,000? That is 500,000. Yeah, 500,000. So 500,000 in interest per annum. Per annum. 500,000 in interest per annum. Now, if you are paying this loan for 5 years, so it means that you'll have paid 500 times 5. That is 2.5 million. So you'll have paid a total interest of 2.5 million. That is when you did not make any deposit. You did not make any deposit. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you are saying that huge down payment is equals to less interest. You did not make any down payment to this. The amount was financed as a whole. Now, what if you try to make a down payment of 3 million? It means when you make a down payment of 3 million, you are only left with 2 million to pay in installments. You are only left with 2 million to pay in installments. This one is just an example because I'm just doing flat rate. It can be amortized, it can be on a reducing balance basis, but all in all, it's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you a lot of interest if you don't make a down payment. Now, remember, interest is calculated on principal amount. And here, in our first scenario, the principal amount is 5 million. Now, in our second scenario, the principal amount is 2 million. So you can take your 10% here times 10 over 100 times 2 million. And this one is going to be 200,000. If you multiply this one by the remaining, or you multiply that one by the period of 5 years, so you can see this is 200 times 5, and this one is around 1 million and something. Yeah, around 1 million. So you see, here you've paid an interest of 2.5 million, but here you've just paid an interest of 1 million. Now, which one makes sense? You see, when you make a huge down, and that one is just a rough example of normally what happens of when you make a huge down. And in most cases, when you have that bargaining power, for example, you have like 3 million, only 2 million is remaining, you can enter into a more negotiable form of agreement with the bank or your financier. Maybe tell them that you are going to pay the remaining amount with 2 years. It's not about to be 5 years, because you can reduce now 2 million to 2 years or 1 year if you have that capability of that paying those installments. And therefore you find yourself that you have paid very little amount of money. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you know these secrets, then you know the secret about money. Difference between brand and quality, we have talked about that. When you spend a little more upfront. Try to look for more expensive things, but make sure they are quality, because they are going to save a lot of money in long run. All right. So we have talked about that. Buying in bulk saves money. I've explained you with the case of potatoes and eggs, and I've shown you how you normally save money when you buy in bulk. Now, huge down payment is equals to less interest. For those people who like taking mortgage loans to buy properties and so on and so on, this is one secret that you can use when taking loans. Normalize paying down payments and pay huge ones if it's possible, and then because you are going to save yourself from paying a lot of interest. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was all for today in our today's video. Remember, this is a John Mweri professional accountant with Xfinop Accountancy and Insurance Consultancy. And you can see this is another reason that you should always stay subscribed in this particular channel. This is what we talk about: educate the society about finances and anything that you need to do with your financial past. So remember to subscribe, hit the notification bells, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are more excited and this video has made you happy, just make sure that you share this video to your colleagues so that we can get our society educated. Thank you so much for watching. Until we meet in our next video coming soon, stay liquid.